Are we rolling?
We are rolling. Welcome back. Got
Hey,
a new
guys.
look. New place. Actually, not a
Same
new
place.
place. Same place. We're just showing off the versatility.
Yeah, the versatility of Create Appalachia here in beautiful Johnson City, Tennessee. Ooh, I hit my mic. The beautiful Create Appalachia here in Johnson City, Tennessee.
Yes. I feel so naked without my headphones.
Well, so there's a backstory to that. Your business partner / friend proverbially dropped the ball this morning.
Yeah. How was
Last
that?
night, well, I was prepping my gear last night.
Yep.
I'm trying to get better about preparing.
Right.
We know that I'm a fly by the seat of my pants type guy.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to channel my inner Jared Collins and prep everything. And for whatever reason, my little 3.5 millimeter jack bag that has all the adapters in it for headphones, it didn't make the trip. It
Yeah.
didn't make the trip this morning. That's all I know.
We're short on splitters, and
It happens.
we figured if only one person could have headphones, nobody should have headphones because that might look weird.
And for our audio only listeners out there, Jared's giving me the look that a disappointed father gives his son whenever he drops the ball.
It does. It just feels so different. But hey, maybe it'll be a good aesthetic. Maybe you'll appreciate actually
knows?
seeing my earlobes. Who
Could be
knows?
a pretty cool look. You got some good ears.
Got some good ears.
Just-
All right, I'm gonna hit you with this dad joke because it wouldn't be a Faith and Frames podcast without a
Hit
dad
me.
joke.
I'm ready. I'm all ears.
Why do fathers take an extra pair of socks when they go golfing?
So that they don't get wet from the foreground if it rained.
Hey, that's not a bad answer. It's
I'm
not the
just-
answer.
Ah, dang.
It's
I'm close,
actually
right?
in case they get a hole in one.
Ah,
Nobody wants a hole in their sock.
very nice. Yeah, that's pretty annoying when the toe is sticking out.
That's yes. But I'm like the habitual, like come Christmas time when that
Yeah.
meme pops
I
up.
want
It's
socks.
like, well, hang on, boys. Like you've just got a couple more
Yeah.
days to
Socks and underwear.
Yeah, I'm that guy.
Bring them on. The other annoyance, like on the opposite end, if we're talking socks here, so toe hole is annoying. Just as annoying is the heel hole because then when your feet get the least bit sweaty, stickage.
That's where I wear mine out.
Stickage.
I must be hard on the heels.
You're hard on the heels.
Must be. It might be indicative of how I walk. I bet you a PT could diagnose some sort of deficiency that I have based upon the way that my socks wear.
If there are any podiatrists,
Is that what a foot person is?
yeah, I
Okay.
think so. Podiatrist out
Yeah.
there, please help my friend Jared Collins.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I have any issues. However, that is a very consistent occurrence. I wear the heels out of my socks
As
first.
your friend, I'm concerned.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yes, no problem. That's free of charge.
Free of charge.
Podiatrist may not be.
Let's thank this week's sponsor.
This week's sponsor of Faith in Frames, none other than making their return for the second week in a row, Create Appalachia, for donating this lovely space for us to use for the podcast. I'm excited. We've got a fun guest today,
Yes.
but I'm very excited about Create Appalachia's mission where art meets business.
Yes.
Very good mantra.
Awesome space. If you're needing a co-working space, check them out. Very, very creative.
Come on in. They've got incubation spaces.
Oh, yeah.
They've got conference rooms. They
Yes.
have labs. They have podcasting studios.
We're in the back studio right now.
We're in the back studio. That's that. They need to name that the back studio.
The
That's
back
cool.
studio.
Here at Create Appalachia, Johnson
Yes.
City. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Cher.
Yes.
Thank you, crew.
Appreciate it.
Create Appalachia. Jared, meat and taters. Get us to the meat and taters this morning.
We have a guest,
We do.
and she's actually in the tourism space,
Good
which
morning.
is quite the transition. Miss Allie Bynum.
Hello.
Good morning, Miss Allie.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you are no stranger to podcasts. You guys run a podcast as well, a great podcast called Meet Me in Tennessee podcast, correct?
We sure do. Yep.
Very cleverly named.
Yeah.
Absolutely. She's in tourism, Meet Me in Tennessee. Like those things go hand in
Yep.
hand. I'm sure it feels a little different being on this end of it though, right? Like your guest versus the
Yeah.
host. It's
It's
got
an
to feel
adjustment.
different.
It feels a little strange.
Yeah. Yeah. How the turntables.
Michael Scott.
So tourism. What got you started into tourism?
Ooh, what got me started in tourism? I would say a love for the great outdoors.
Okay.
So many moons back, I was a raft guide.
Nice.
Actually, right here in Erwin, Northeast Tennessee.
Yes.
And
USA Raft.
USA Raft, of course.
I've
Yes.
frequented that place before.
Oh yeah.
Very nice.
So that was just a way I found to work in a space that I love to recreate.
Nice. Okay.
Little did I know it would lead to a career in tourism.
Right.
Yes.
So
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
really exciting. I know tourism, and so I've learned a lot from just following you on LinkedIn. You share all these great statistics as to how it boosts the local economy and just all of the benefits of tourism and why it is so important, and why we should constantly be looking to improve that
Yeah.
tourism experience. Do you have any statistics you would like to share?
I sure do. Why don't we just dive right in?
Let's do it. Let's do
Get
it.
us to the numbers.
I've got my
Yes.
notes here. So I appreciate you bringing that up, Jared. So in 2022, the economic impact of travel in Northeast Tennessee was 841,164,100.
Baller.
And that number was just released here recently.
Wow. So that's that's people coming in.
That is just the travel impact of Northeast Tennessee, covering our 8 counties here in the state.
That's wild.
Quick side note, did we just get some breaking information? Because you said that's recent.
This is recent news. It is public.
Okay, it's
but
public.
It's
Probably not known by our audience,
Man,
though. I
I'm
hope
waiting
they
for the
feel
day.
informed.
Waiting
Yeah.
for the day that we get to release some breaking news.
unless you're a data nerd that goes hunting for this information, it's probably not a common knowledge.
Yeah.
It's safe to say that you might have heard it here first.
You could have.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So
That's a lot of revenue.
Let's hear some more. So 841 million, you said something?
Yep, that's our impact of travel number. Now, another number we could dive into that I think is very important for our community is our state taxes and our local taxes. So from that number, we also have an additional state tax of 51,269,600 that, again, our area brings to the state.
Yes.
And then local taxes, that's 31,819,800. And I mean, we can also share the number that the industry pays our employees here in Northeast Tennessee, if you'd like.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. That number is 205,220,000, employing 6,879 folks.
That
in
is
our
crazy.
So
hospitality and
almost
tourism.
7,000.
That is crazy.
7,000
So
folks. Just in tourism.
Just in tourism.
Wow.
Yep.
I think that is something that a lot of people lose sight of. If you're maybe if you are someone who hates crowds and whatnot, you may have like a negative thought of like what tourism does to your area. But like when you hear those numbers of how it helps your local economy and those dollars spent in your county, a lot of it stays in your county and it just helps everything. I think that might help change some perspectives there.
So I want to kind of go deeper into that because as the X-year-old man sitting on my porch waiting to die, complaining about tourists coming in, you mentioned a lot of money there.
Yeah.
You mentioned a lot of revenue. I want you to convince me why that's important and where that money goes. Because you've said some big numbers and that's fine and dandy, but what
Yeah.
does that actually benefit for the counties?
Yeah.
Yeah,
How does that
sure.
actually help me?
So to a lot of folks who, it is a big number.
Yeah.
And to some people who aren't data nerds, such as maybe you or I,
Yeah.
Right.
how does that impact the community here? So that saves our residents, our local residents, in household taxes and property taxes.
Did not know that.
So when we bring in an economic impact, like currently right now, Tennessee is 11th in the nation for travel spending. That's
Really?
the highest we've ever been ranked.
Okay, so
Wow.
I'm dumb. What does travel spending mean? People, that's how much money people spend in the state?
Yeah, so that's folks coming in from out of state. They
got
might be
you.
buying souvenirs. They might be staying at our local hotels and short-term rentals.
Does that include Buc-ee's?
Buc-ee's, oh my goodness.
The new Buc-ee's in Sevierville's probably boots to
I was going
death.
to say it's probably 70% of that revenue.
My kid's one
I
of
would
them.
be
Like,
interested to see those
absolutely.
numbers.
Yes.
We need Buc-ee's numbers if you want to dig those up.
The
Yeah.
kids and Buc-ee's, that's a whole thing.
My
That's
kid
a whole
loves
podcast.
it. We cannot pass to Buc-ee's without stopping in.
I have to cause a distraction every time.
Yes, that's
But
right. We
but
need it.
locally in Greeneville, we don't have a Buc-ee's, so we'll exit for now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
again, so that goes to help save the taxpayers.
Yes.
Yes, and so how does that help our economy? So we're thinking we're promoting these spaces and we're attracting visitors.
Right.
So that's boosting our economic impact. That's supplying jobs for the industry.
Yes.
So the more money we can bring in, the more jobs are available within the industry.
True.
And then it's helping the taxes go down for residents, and it's also helping with economic development. So when
Right.
we have these kind of statistics, we can advocate for infrastructure. We can advocate for maybe green spaces, which we could talk about later,
Yes.
bringing outdoor
Yeah.
recreation into
Yes.
the conversation. These types of numbers, I mean, I can understand why some residents can maybe see it as a threat attracting visitors.
Right.
But it does a lot of good things for our local communities.
Oh yeah, definitely. And so you start talking about infrastructure. That's where you end up with, better hotels. You end up with better
Better
restaurants, and all of those things are obviously data driven.
Yeah.
A restaurant doesn't entertain this area unless certain metrics are met,
Right.
And so all of those things ultimately end up helping, which is crazy because that ultimately makes your area more attractive. So it's this cycle.
cycle.
It's a
Well,
catch-22, but I think one thing that a lot of locals, at least in Greeneville, where we're from Greeneville, Tennessee, a lot of locals can agree that for the longest time, we didn't have a lot of restaurant choices.
No,
Not good ones, at least. I mean, there were your mom and pops that were
Right.
great, but they had the weird hours.
yeah,
So,
you got tons of lunch options,
yeah, you've got tons of lunch options.
dinner, supper.
Not so much. And
Yeah.
until very recently, recently we've started getting some restaurants in. We've actually got a Texas Roadhouse coming in, which I
Right.
think some people are excited for. So we are even seeing some of that impact just in our little town right now
Yeah.
from people coming and spending their money. We are
Absolutely.
getting better amenities.
And I'll say, because I did truck it down by the counties, a part of that economic impact number, Greene County ranked third on that list at 102 million.
Wow.
Out of the 8 counties of Northeast Tennessee.
Wow.
Really? So we're in the top 50 percentile.
So
Nice.
there is an increase in travel spending.
Yeah. I
So-
mean, we're seeing it. We're seeing restaurants and everything going up right now. New
Absolutely.
shopping centers, like things that people say they want,
Yeah.
are actually happening now.
So I think I always found it interesting. So I used to travel a lot for my previous position because I worked in transportation and literally traveled around the nation. And it didn't take more than like 4 words for someone to realize that I was probably from the South.
You ain't from here.
I ain't from here. So then I would say, well, I'm from Tennessee. And they'd say, oh, Gatlinburg. Have you heard of Gatlinburg? And I'm like, no, I've never heard of it.
No.
But see,
That
that's the
place.
thing. Like we take it for granted.
Yeah.
We take for granted that in our case, 45 minutes down the road is this place that people travel from far and wide
It's
to
a
be
mecca.
in. And so here's the
Absolutely.
other thing that is kind of crazy that I think is due to social media and probably a plethora of other factors, people are realizing Gatlinburg's not the only place.
Right.
I mean, the Smoky Mountains,
Right.
it expands further than Gatlinburg.
The
but-
most visited national park in the country.
Yep.
Yeah. And
I did
so
know that.
people are realizing it's like, you know what, this Johnson City's got something to offer.
And
Hold
here
on.
we are in this pocket of kind of a well-kept secret
Yes.
that people are starting to find out about, or it's starting to maybe trickle over
Yes.
because some of these places are becoming highly visited.
Yep.
Well, you mentioned on the podcast with Austin, that episode that I really enjoyed. I didn't realize how just geographically pivotal Erwin was in regards to the AT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, it's like, yeah, that's a great place to stop.
Yeah.
And so, I mean,
Well,
yeah,
then you
it's,
move on up into Elizabeth, then Hampton,
Yeah.
Roan Mountain, those areas.
Erwin is a hub, in my opinion, for
Yeah, it's
the
a gateway. Mm-hmm.
outdoors. I mean, you have the Nolichucky River, you have the Appalachian Trail right there, and then
right.
you have a plethora of mountain biking.
Yep.
That's true. That's another one that I haven't personally indulged in. But
10
there's
out of 10 recommend.
I used to mountain bike.
I think I would be so fatigued. I'm so out of shape and certainly
so
not in a mountain
fun.
bike shape.
It's
so
addicting.
fun.
It's very fun.
Then you add in like the crappy videos of people like literally splitting trees in half when they wreck and stuff. So that I've got this fear too.
There's a
Like if
risk
I lose
factor.
control and splatter into this pine tree,
They have the full face helmets, you
Yeah.
can.
I probably should do that.
I mean, you
Add
can
some
splatter
padding.
a pine tree doing a lot of things, though.
true.
I'm just saying.
True.
You just got to pick which one you want to do it with. Actually, don't do that. That's not good advice.
Yeah, that's not good advice. Don't take that.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. But hey, another thing that our area offers this time of year is snowboarding, skiing.
Yeah, I'm always kind of torn about this one. We don't really talk a lot about our accessibility to snowboarding and
Right,
skiing.
no.
But we're really right here on the corner, and I think the
Yep.
reason we don't promote it as much is because it's in North Carolina,
Right.
Right.
But we're still
Banner Elk.
accessible.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
are a perfect location that's outside of kind of that high tourism destination in North
Right.
Carolina to
Yeah.
come stay in an affordable place, see what we have to offer, make it your base camp, and then venture off to find some snow.
See, that's truly how like to people when I would constantly be explaining like where Greeneville was, I would literally say like Greeneville, geographically, our radius,
Yeah.
you can hit so many things. You're an hour from Knoxville.
Yeah.
Go Vols. You know,
Yeah.
like you're an hour from Bristol. Let's do these left turns. You know,
Right.
like but
You got
then
Asheville.
Yeah,
you got
Asheville.
Asheville. From an outdoor perspective, I saw an article, and I'm going to butcher the number, but I believe within an hour's drive of Greeneville, I forget how many hiking and waterfalls you could get to. like waterfalls is the destination.
Oh, yeah.
It was an astonishing number. But I mean, that's another point. It's like, no,
Right.
okay, yeah, so we ourselves don't have skiing and snowboarding, but it's a great place to stay.
a
Hour
base
drive.
camp.
Beach Mountain does. Sugar Mountain does.
Yeah.
Like there's mountains everywhere
Absolutely.
that actually get snow.
Greeneville is just, y'all have so much happening out there in the outdoor world. I mean, y'all got the AT, you've
Yes.
got sections of the Nolichucky.
Yep.
And then you have mountain biking extreme, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Paint Creek. I love riding my bike out there.
Ah, okay.
You
See,
got some-
I'll fish at Paint Creek.
Yep.
And I enjoy
I used to go to the range there when they had it.
climbing up Paint Rock, but
Yep.
yeah, I've
Stellar
never
mountain biking.
Never done the mountain biking.
Nice.
And I
I'm gonna
mean,
have
you
to
can
do
really
this.
connect those Forest Service roads, and you can make it an Asheville trip if you want to put some miles in.
Yeah.
Which there's a whole niche community of bikers who are out there looking for that.
I like Paint Creek. Again, I fish there, but I've never done the mountain biking. The cool thing about Paint Creek is, and this is again going out of state, but like there's a couple really great restaurants at Hot Springs.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so instead of going the paved way, I'll go through Paint Creek and along I
Yeah.
think it's the French Broad.
Yep. Go
Oh
back
my
way.
goodness. I love that back way.
Oh yes.
You remember
as long
the
as the
little
road's
mill?
not washed out,
Yeah.
like that's a really great drive.
Do you
It's
guys remember
beautiful.
the little mill that used to be there where you could feed the fish?
No.
You don't remember the mill?
Where?
Actually, no. This is the other back way to Asheville. Never mind.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
Wrong back way.
Yeah.
There is a mill on the other back way though, where you used to be able to go feed the fish as they were coming over the dam.
My family, I'm pretty sure, like single-handedly keeps like the tavern and Iron Horse afloat.
Your brothers like that place.
They go almost weekly. I with kids, we can't make it a weekly trip, but
Yeah.
it is fun. Good eats for sure.
Also, side note, I'm hearing a future Christmas present for the captain here. I need to get you a mountain bike.
A mountain bike, yes.
Listen, so here's the thing. I may have this faulty view of what mountain biking is. I'm seeing the extreme stuff with the banked curves and the jumps and everything else.
Which is
Can
awesome.
it be
It can be relaxing.
Can it be a little less than
It
that?
can be. There's so much to biking. I mean, we could talk on and on about it.
You got
know,
little
I have-
pump tracks. You can
You
get
got
yourself on a little
pump
pump.
My experience is literally the Creeper Trail, which is like 17
You
miles
have
downhill.
Creeper Trail, which kind of leans more into the realm of gravel biking.
Yeah.
So you can gravel.
More of a relaxing ride.
You can road bike, you can mountain bike, you
Yeah.
can go full suspension,
Okay.
or you can kind of hybrid between. I ride a still bike, so mine kind of works on the gravel and the mountain biking trails.
Yep.
Yes.
And I mean, it's just limitless.
And
there's
then-
bike packing. That's a whole nother thing.
Then
Bike
you can get an
packing.
e-bike, an e-mountain bike.
We don't have to talk about e-bikes. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, to each their own.
No, I mean, who is it we talked
They're
to?
making a big resurgence right now.
Well, at the
Oh,
end
well,
of
a big
Tweetsie Trail.
surgence.
What's the shop at the end of Tweetsie Trail?
The goat.
Locomotion.
Or yeah, Locomotion. That's right.
Yeah, we've talked to those guys, and they're seeing a big, they're seeing
Oh,
a
they're
big
selling them like
interest in
hotcakes.
e-bikes.
There's a huge audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a huge audience.
I don't know. I feel like that tactile, manual input is
I say you
something
gotta
that's-
build the quads,
It's
folks.
well, it's part of the
Build the
it's part
quads.
of it. I feel
Yeah.
like.
Yeah,
you
again,
know?
to each
Build
their
them
own.
things right there.
I prefer to earn my turns. The same with snowboarding or hiking or things of that
okay.
nature.
Called
so.
out.
Yeah, shots fired. All
I
right,
was
so
also
you're-
saying to build those quads.
It's a quad builder for
That's true.
sure.
and it's also a
Forearms,
noggin knocker if
everything.
you're not wearing a helmet. You catch a patch of ice, which is what I did.
Anyways,
So you're in tourism. Obviously, I'd say one of the biggest hurdles with tourism is getting literally the word out.
Yeah.
Getting it known to as many people as possible what all they can do. And I've noticed that you seem to be particularly involved with outdoor recreation.
That's my passion.
Yes.
My values align a lot with outdoor recreation.
Right.
So my work's in tourism, and while outdoor recreation is a sector of that, it's not the full spectrum.
Yeah.
But that's where I tend to
Yeah.
find my joy
Right.
and purpose.
So how did you end up? Why is that your passion? I can think of tons of benefits.
Yeah.
Physically, mentally, all kinds of benefits to
Yeah.
outdoor. Why should someone be excited that our area offers so many outdoor recreational opportunities?
You start with the physical and mental benefits. I mean, for sure.
Oh yeah,
I mean, they're endless, and we
Yeah.
could go on and on about that. I think my passion is directly correlated with outdoor recreation because I have children, I want to
Right.
keep these places around for future generations,
Right.
and
Which
to
I
have,
appreciate.
Yeah, and to have these spaces, not only like our public state parks, but just
Right.
green space.
Yeah.
Johnson City
That's fair.
has over 20 parks here. There are certain barriers to access that a city park can help alleviate to
Sure.
the community. So having these spaces where our children and any of us can just go and recreate and just reap those benefits of nature, I just
Right.
think that's where my passion is
yeah.
born from.
Good
What
old
is it?
vitamin E.
D. I
Vitamin
believe
D.
it is.
Vitamin
Delta.
D.
I'm
Yeah.
missing today.
Yeah, it's all right.
Vitamin D.
Vitamin D. Yeah, there's so many benefits. You get the health of just physically moving.
Yeah.
Getting
Yeah.
off the couch, as we like to say
Get
a
some
lot,
sunshine, folks.
and some sunshine, man.
For sure.
It's definitely good for the mentals. I know we talk about this quite a bit because in media specifically, sometimes we spend many hours at a
front of a
desk
screen.
editing in front of
Or either
a
behind a
screen.
camera, or in front of, or behind a screen.
Even behind a camera, there's times personally where I have to get out of my den. I call it my editing dungeon sometimes
Yeah.
because I've
Yeah.
got to get out of there and it just go down the dang driveway to the mailbox.
Just get out.
And as a creative, I think there's a whole nother tie to that because like we love what we do. So
Yeah,
like looking
right.
at those screens, it's like we realize it's daunting, but
Yep.
also like I love to edit, and I love to create.
Yeah. Well, but here's the cool
But
thing
I get
too.
a lot of good ideas when I'm outside.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the
when I'm
inspiration.
walking, when I'm
that-
running, when I'm riding my skateboard, whatever.
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah. So tourism, again, we briefly touched on it. It's about letting people know either the locals or reaching externally so that you can be a bigger draw. It's
Yeah.
it's just a matter of getting the word out.
Yeah.
Obviously, with social media, things have changed. Traditional advertisement may have been radio ads, newspaper
Mm-hmm.
ads, pamphlets, brochures, TV ads.
Oh,
Yeah.
Now,
pamphlets.
in come Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. So
Right.
like there are all kinds of
TikTok.
but that's where the youth is, right?
Yeah.
How have you guys seen the pivot in mediums, and what are you guys doing right now to take advantage?
With the mediums, I will say we do still use some traditional methods. So we do an annual visitor guide.
Yep, that's great.
Within our industry, we still have high traffic coming to those Tennessee welcome centers.
Right.
Yes.
So having a magazine and sometimes pamphlets for promoting new programs.
Sure.
For instance, we have the new Tennessee Night Sky program we've launched.
Yeah.
And getting that out via a brochure is crucial part
Yes.
of the marketing touch point.
Right.
But other than that, heavily do we use the digital platforms.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And I can go into the specific channels. Facebook and Instagram.
Yes.
That's the baseline of
Big
our
ones.
marketing efforts.
Right.
So we have our largest reach on those two channels, and then LinkedIn for a B2B
Oh,
platform.
Yep. yes.
That's another audience that when you're working in the industry, we want to speak with other industry
Right.
professionals, see
Well,
what
that's
they're
how
doing.
This came to be was LinkedIn.
Yeah, I discovered
this
you
episode.
in that podcast via LinkedIn actually, and so
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, that's
this-
a prime example.
It is, and so the media guy, in me is like, okay, the stationery is great.
Yeah.
That's when they physically get here.
Yeah.
You got to get them interested first, right? There's got to be some
Yeah.
sort of draw pull
gotta draw 'em
magnet.
to those Tennessee
and so
welcome
that's where I
centers.
feel like
Yeah.
social media in some cases has an upper hand in
It's
exposure
so
and
crucial.
awareness.
And on that, can I just share a
Absolutely.
quote maybe?
Absolutely, share it. And before you share the quote, I'll
Yeah.
say this: as far as the Tennessee visitor centers, they are getting nice.
Yeah.
Oh, they are.
They're getting super.
Yes.
Well, we're
super
seeing this
nice.
influx of traffic, right? So
Which
we're
means
seeing
revenue.
the impact of the economy that tourism can bring. So
Yeah.
now we're able to invest into our infrastructure.
I enjoy
Right.
travel centers now because they're getting pretty bougie.
They're exciting
Yeah.
and they're immersive.
Yep.
Yes.
Visit Johnson City just opened their new visitor center, and if
I'll
y'all
check that
haven't
out.
been,
I have
highly
not.
recommend on your way out. It's in a very immersive digital
Let me
experience.
just write that out
Okay.
in the little
Yeah.
thoughts and doodles here.
Okay.
It's just down the road.
We'll have to check that out for sure.
Hit us with a quote.
Yeah. So I'm bouncing back between tourism and outdoor
Bounce around. You're
recreation,
good.
right? 'Cause
They
that's
go
kinda what-
hand in hand. I'm
They do
lumping
go
them all
hand in
in,
hand.
maybe unfairly, but go ahead.
And we talked a little bit about the health benefits of the outdoors, but I also wanted to say that here in Northeast Tennessee, the outdoors are such one of our biggest assets.
Right.
True.
We have the Appalachian Trail.
Absolutely.
We have over 200 miles of the Appalachian Trail in the state. We have our rivers with whitewater kayaking. We have mountain biking,
Yes.
and we have access to snow sports. It's just endless. So
Yes.
I think capitalizing on the asset is one of our biggest attractors.
Yes.
But then equally, maybe we can talk about it a little bit later, is sustainability. And so this quote came to mind. It's Luca Martinez, a wildlife and preservation-focused photographer based in Florida. I saw this on LinkedIn, actually.
There
Nice.
you go.
And we're talking about bringing awareness to the outdoors.
Right.
So you realize that the biggest threat to the place is how disconnected we are from it. Before we can talk about how to protect it, you have to get people to fall in love with it.
True.
That's stout.
And he said that on Conservation Through Captivation. And he's a photographer.
Yeah.
So we're talking about these mediums is how I'm relating this quote.
Yep.
We have to make people aware of these places before and during
Right.
teaching them conservation ethics.
Yeah. So
Stout.
on that note, one thing we'll just call it a byproduct. You can judge whether it's good or bad. Take Max Patch for example.
Yeah.
I'd say 10 years ago, the foot traffic on Max Patch was probably pennies on the dollar, so to speak, as to what it is today.
Sure.
And so, like, no different than like Carvers Gap, right? Those were known to some, but not by a lot. But as a result of social media, people are like, "Oh my gosh, that's great! Let's go!"
Sure.
So the only downfall that I can see is
It's a little crowded at times.
it can get crowded, but I think people don't know what they don't know,
Right.
And so they can be somewhat destructive,
Right.
to what is the existing beauty. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's
Yeah.
foot traffic, it's leaving trash, it's whatever, right? There's just things that I think can come with increased foot traffic.
Yeah, I think there has to be some etiquette involved.
Oh, yeah, for
with,
sure.
With visiting these places because we want to preserve them. We want everybody to come and enjoy them.
Yeah, I want
But
my
we
kids
also-
to enjoy it.
Right. We
Right.
also want to keep them too. But again, going back to just sheerly from a revenue standpoint, think of what, like, let's say Max Patch specifically has done for like Hot Springs with all the visitors that Hot Springs get because those two are kind of close to each other. You can whip over to Hot Springs fairly quickly from Max Patch. Same thing with Carvers Gap and Elizabethton.
Yeah,
Elizabethton gets a lot of through traffic going to Carvers Gap.
true. It's a good point.
So those places not only are visitable just to see the sights, but to actually see the journey
Yeah.
on your way and the little towns that are along that journey.
Well, I mean, you've got the hostel.
Yep.
Down from Rome Mountain.
Yep.
And if you've never stopped at the little Mexican restaurant, I'm drawing a blank on the name. It's literally right off of your first right turn.
Right.
heading
And
to-
Smoky Mountain Bakers is a good pizza joint.
I've
if you
not
haven't
eaten
been,
that.
it's fire baked.
Writing that
it's,
down.
It's a gem.
Writing
for
that
sure.
down.
We frequent Carvers Gap a lot. We it's a really easy hike. And
Good one for the kids.
Oh, it's great. And the view you get because, that's where I like to be. I like there to be a payoff of some sort at the end of this thing, right? I love to get out, but I personally need that little carrot dangled in front of me. I need that waterfall. I need that lookout. I need that bluff or something, right?
need
It's
pizza.
motivation. I know what's at the end of
Right.
this, and it keeps me going.
Yep.
You can see for literal miles.
Yeah.
Literal miles. Into North Carolina, into Tennessee, from Carvers Gap. So yeah, we're there.
It's majestic.
Oh yeah. And then
And-
that's the AT. I mean,
Yeah.
Got
so
the
it's-
AT. I mean, Carvers Gap is just such a staple. Being born and raised from Northeast Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
like you said years ago, you'd go up there and you'd have the whole mountain to yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And
Which is nice.
Yeah.
It is.
It is. It's nice.
It's pretty
It is,
cool.
but then not to gatekeep that and to share it with others. It's
Yes.
just finding that balance of,
Yeah.
there's kind of this coin we use as over visitation. And after the pandemic, we saw such an influx in folks visiting like Roan Mountain and
Right.
all of our outdoor national parks and all the trash and
Yeah.
just trying to promote a message of conservation along with, hey, come visit us, but also let's respect our
Yeah. Let's respect
our
what we
public
have.
places.
Well, I mean, it's kind of that. I don't call it a golden rule, but it's like, leave the place better than you found it.
Yeah.
If everyone
Yeah.
attempted to do that, oh my
Leave no
gosh.
trace. We try to combine a message of leave no trace when we're sharing blogs about
Right.
hikes and waterfalls, just
Well,
the
then you got
basic
the
principles.
rhododendrons and
Oh, yeah.
man, it's like the benefit of getting to the top, finding a little spot to just exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just be still, exist, let the wind hit you. It's the inspiration that can come from that, the reset that can come from that.
Yeah, it's
Well,
a total
but there's
reset.
a bit of community up there too. One of my favorite things to do whenever we're up on Carvers Gap, I just love meeting the people who are like overnighting.
Oh, that's true.
on top of the mountain. Like they're in their
Oh, my
little
goodness.
overnight tent. They've whipped it out of the backpack.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're in for about 40 miles of wind beating you all night, and I want to know why.
Yeah, right,
Where are you
absolutely.
from? What's your story? Because that's so
Yeah.
interesting to me.
Yeah.
You have the AT hiker season in March where you're
yes.
meeting folks from all around the
Yes,
world
that's
hiking
true.
this trail.
Such a cool community.
Yeah.
Such a cool community.
So is that generally, in order to make the transit, is that generally when they're in this area is in March?
That is when I tend to personally pass a lot of the AT hikers coming up from Georgia. They're
Yeah.
passing through usually in March. Yeah.
As soon as it warms up just enough to start it,
Oh, yeah.
to where they can
They're
finish it, to
starting that
where
journey.
maybe not be in snow by the time they hit it in May.
When you're
Right.
meeting folks from New York, from California, just
Right.
anywhere in the world have
Everywhere.
come to hike this trail.
One of my childhood friends and teammates, Noah Nazary, hiked the whole thing.
Noah.
Noah.
We need to get Noah on the podcast.
We do need to
Oh,
get
my
Noah on the
goodness.
podcast. That dude's building a timber frame house now.
Let
He
me write that
literally
down.
biked from sea to sea. He is the epitome of this is nothing related to tourism, but like Noah could have his own show because
Noah is tourism.
I'm friends with his wife Kayla because they hike together.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So they're building a timber frame house.
Oh yeah,
And
Yeah.
that doesn't shock me at all.
y'all should get them on the
Noah-
podcast.
Noah is tourism.
Noah is all kinds of things.
Noah is a lot of
And here's the
things,
thing
yes.
with Noah. Growing up with him, anything the kid picks up to do,
He's great at it.
he's going to be good at it.
He's a savant.
I just have to say they're great role models for sustainability and,
Yeah.
and outdoor recreation in the
Yeah.
community.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we need to get him on there. What would you say the biggest pain points and issues are facing tourism? Is it literally awareness? Is it education? Is it literally just getting a matter of getting the word out? I mean, what issues plague the tourism industry?
That one I've got to think about because, again, I tend to have a little bias toward outdoor recreation, right?
Yeah.
So from my perspective, I feel like we do a pretty great job at attracting traffic with our message and tourism.
Right.
And it's our mission to do so, to bring people here and,
Right.
and to promote economic health for our community. So I might speak from a more personal perspective.
Yeah, hit it.
But to me, a big pain point is just equally promoting the conservation and sustainability.
Okay.
And helping to unite, a local perspective with a visitor perspective.
Yes.
And seeing that if our community flourishes, then visitors will come here and
Yeah.
feel that,
Right.
and they'll have a sense of place.
Yeah.
Because we have culture here. It's
do.
Oh, yes, we do.
Appalachia.
We do.
Absolutely. I'm glad you pronounced it
Yeah,
appropriately.
Appalachia again.
Absolutely,
So
Appalachia.
do you get a lot of backlash though, just specifically on like the conservation aspect of things? Do you get a lot of backlash, whether it be from like local legislation, from local residents? What seems
Yeah.
to be the barrier there for maybe the awareness and then the care towards conservation?
Yeah.
Or could it be funding? Like it?
Yeah, or is
I
it-
know a lot of this stuff is state funded, right?
Right.
And
Yeah,
so it's like
funding
how does
can be a
it
barrier.
operate, right? And so
Yeah, funding can
that's
be a
it.
barrier. But you mentioned the backlash. I would say, like, for instance, we
If
talked
any.
about the podcast with Austin.
Yeah.
That kind of raised a bit of a stir with the locals
Right.
because we're promoting this place that has so long been kept a secret. And then I think just sharing the message of the benefits tourism boosts the local economy.
Yeah.
Like the taxes and
Right,
like
yeah.
infrastructure.
Yes.
And long-term growth plans. And I try to encourage, when I get that feedback from individuals,
Right.
I try to encourage a message of, hey, get involved in your local city council
There you
meetings.
go.
Tourism is here to help boost the economy.
Right.
Right.
And if there are triggers or issues that you're passionate about, you have a voice.
Yeah.
You can speak on those issues.
Yeah, you can come to city council, Richard.
Yeah, I mean,
We'll just say Richard is his name.
voice your opinion. So here's the thing, though. I would probably guess, without being in the space, I would probably guess statistically and numerically, those are probably truly the exception. The issue is they're probably the loudest,
Yeah.
right? The squeaky grease
And the
or the
oldest.
squeaky wheel gets the grease.
And the most willing to sit at the house
I'd say
and wait
most
to die.
people, like if polled,
Yeah.
would be in favor of tourism.
Yeah.
It's the people who, unfortunately, I'd say it's the people who are
Richard.
are probably the most vocal.
Right.
They're the first ones to hit in the comments of a Facebook post, whatever. But no, if you only understood
Yeah.
how you benefit from it.
Yeah.
Right. So encouraging that message of understanding. And again, I can't preach enough, just I think if we can continue to grow our sustainability efforts
Yeah.
And message that
Yeah.
while we're promoting these places, we can also say, hey, we're planning for sustainable growth.
Right.
And that's just where I feel like my work is.
Yeah.
Like I want to help grow that message of let's grow sustainably.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and I
'Cause-
respect that. And again, for the ones who are naysayers, they're probably complaining from the Aubrey's bar that was built because of the revenue from tourism. So.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing, though, and we've seen it. There are no shortage of statistical proofs here, but like you can grow too fast
Yeah.
Yeah.
to where you can't sustain it.
Right.
The infrastructure's not there. You can't house the people.
Mm-hmm.
You can't.
I mean, back to Max Patch. You know, that I don't want to see that happen to Roan Mountain.
No.
Right.
Like I would hate
don't.
to say that we over promoted a place and we
Right.
didn't equally encourage
Educate,
the visitors and educate
Yeah.
them to
To respect it.
yeah.
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 So, you know, your passion is outdoor, and I think that fits perfectly with where we live. It kind of goes along with the phrase of grow where you're planted, right?
Yeah.
Like, so what is our attraction? What is geographically where our towns and cities are? What is our draw? Well, it is our outdoor.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's the beauty.
You know,
Yeah.
it's all that it can offer you from a serenity standpoint. From
It's our
a-
outdoors and it's our music. I mean, that's
Oh,
what,
yeah.
what
Yeah, don't
makes
get me
us
started on the
Appalachian,
music.
I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our bluegrass and our mountains.
Well, I mean, here's the thing.
Bingo.
I mean, I've traveled out west. I know you've traveled. Allie, obviously, you've traveled, and I've got a question for you here in a second related to that. But I can honestly say one of my favorite sightings in my lifetime is whenever I'm coming back over the mountain.
Oh, absolutely.
And I can see it just looks like a painting.
It gives
Yes.
me chills thinking
Yeah,
about it.
I get
It's coming
chills. Like,
home.
it looks like a painting every time I come back home, and I've been to some beautiful places.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've seen the Canadian Rockies. I've seen some cool things out west. But
Right.
every time that I come back, I'm like, man,
Nothing beats coming home.
I'm telling you, we spent one of our anniversaries in Glacier National Park out in
Yeah.
Montana. Great, loved that vacation. When we got back, all the family and friends, they're like, "Oh, what was it like? What was it
Yeah.
like?" And it's like, no, their mountains are bigger.
yeah, they're huge.
And they literally just look like they jut out of a flat plane,
Yeah.
like you're just driving, and all of a sudden here's this.
Like those tectonic plates just merged.
Yeah,
or
Yeah,
something.
you know,
smack
and,
each
and
other.
it's like, and they're pretty.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that I appreciate about ours. I saw so few deciduous trees. Everything's a conifer out there.
Yeah.
It's an evergreen, which is pretty year round.
Yeah.
But like I'm sitting
Makes
there
for
thinking
cool
from
photos.
a fall perspective, you've probably got like yellow, maybe a little orange. Our fall,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
you've got
There's none
every
like it.
spectrum of the
Yeah.
color, because this one's not the oaks are going to stay green longer, and
Yeah.
your maples are going to be this beautiful orange,
You have a
yellow,
gradient.
red. Oh my
You have a
gosh.
gradient, and then that gradient goes into the sky that's blue and purple and orange and yellow, and it's just
Yeah,
And
not
that
to
going-
mention,
there's just something about the shapes of our mountains.
Yeah.
they're some of the oldest in
Yeah.
the world, and
Which
you'll
is
have
why
to
they're shaped the way
refer
they
to
are.
Austin Finch for that exact number.
Yeah.
But the Appalachian are some of the oldest. You know, so
Yes.
there's stories.
Which is
to
why they're
tell.
smaller. They've worn down a little more.
No.
They
I
didn't just
remember
smack
that.
yesterday.
I'm going to have to research this because I was so floored. He
Oh, yeah.
stated that they had been formed, like went away and reformed all within this time span that
Yeah.
the Rockies have existed. Or
It's just
something
like they've
that.
like
Yeah,
they've
the Rockies
been
are very
weathered,
young,
yeah.
which is why they're larger.
They're
They've
baby
not,
mountains.
they've not weathered.
and they're beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we have some folklore in ours. We got some old ancient stories to be dug up, and you can
Our-
feel that when you're here.
Yes.
Our mountains are like a sweet little old mamaw.
Yeah,
She's
Making that
soft,
apple
making
pie.
cornbread.
Oh,
making
hey.
cornbread.
I do heart my cornbread.
She's
It's in cast
soft.
iron.
She speaks softly to you. She might sing a little off key in the church choir,
Yeah.
That's it,
but
though.
man, she's just a beautiful old Appalachian queen.
She welcomes you with a warm embrace.
There you go.
I like that.
That's our
I like
mountains.
that a lot. So, we touched on the benefits of tourism, and what would be if you had one thing, a misconception, a misunderstanding, something that you had the opportunity to set the record straight.
Mm-hmm.
What is something that you find yourself constantly combative against with regards to tourism? Maybe it's outdoor recreation. What would be like the one thing you could correct? Because, for instance, for me, just locally in the area, again, I spend a lot of time traveling for work.
Yep.
The big stigma, we've talked about it no less than 400 times, is like we're all dumb.
Right.
We're running around barefooted, probably married to our sister, all of these things. That's sometimes the stigma of Appalachia
Right.
and
Yeah.
hillbilly and
Yeah.
whatnot. But no, man, that's if you If you only knew the gem that is, and maybe you shouldn't know. Maybe we should just keep it that way. Whatever.
You know what? 99.99% of us marry a sister, run around barefoot, and we have our washing machines on the porch.
Yeah. Keep that in your mind. No, I would love for people to just know, like, no, that's
Just
not
to see
it.
it.
That's such a great place.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what comes to mind. If I were to set the record straight,
What makes you want to fight?
Ooh.
conservation, sustainability.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
that's a personal conflict within being in this industry that I face almost daily is not over promoting the places that I love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just something that's a value driven
Right.
struggle that I'm constantly trying to remind myself we can promote, but we have to also conserve.
Yeah. Striking that balance has got to be difficult. You know, I see the picture all the time on Facebook of we'll say Gatlinburg, right? The strip. You
Yeah.
see the photo from like the 1970s.
Yeah.
There's the singular 2-lane road.
About 3 buildings.
Yeah. And now it's like, oh man.
Yeah.
Which it's
Yeah.
good, but there also has to be some sort of break point to
There
where
has
like
to be a balance.
it can't keep anymore.
There has to
you
be
know?
accountability. I mean, I appreciate Gatlinburg for what their community does.
Oh yeah.
But me personally, I rarely visit the Smokies because I don't want to drive through Gatlinburg to
Right.
get there.
Yeah.
Right.
I personally, as someone who I guess has taken it for granted, lived 45 minutes from it, whatever, I pretty well avoid the holidays.
Yeah. It's not
and any of
attractive to me.
any of the known events. Like I, as a local, I suppose is what I could consider myself. Like I'll go in the non-busy seasons, right?
Well, or if we
Yeah.
go to Gatlinburg, we just typically stay way the heck on the outskirts.
Yeah.
Like we'll stay in the Wares Valley area or like way off near, oh golly, I can't think of the little town right now. Townsend.
Yeah.
Those
That's
places.
another one.
Yeah.
Cades Cove has
Yeah,
blown
Cades
up.
Cove.
Oh, it has. And
Which-
I don't want to see us become that,
Right.
Yeah.
you know.
I
I can agree
love
with
that
that.
people are enjoying it, but again, and the biggest thing that I've seen with Kate's Cove, just personally, is I think it's a lot of people just, again, they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And so I've literally seen, thank God there was a park ranger right beside, but I literally saw a father run towards a few bear cubs
Oh,
to
no.
take a close up with their phone. And
What
I'm
an
like,
idiot.
It's like the
Listen,
Yellowstone bison story, if y'all remember.
You can't see mom, but mama sees you. And
She's
mama
there.
doesn't know that you just want a photo of these little
And she will
cubs.
eat
Yeah.
you.
And so it's like, again, the park ranger prevented it from being
Right.
anything that it could have been. But like, it's just the little things like that. It's like, no, don't.
I'm sorry, but beside the fact that you don't live here, where's the common sense there?
I would say it's non-existent.
I'm sorry.
It comes back to like we got to educate folks because
We
they
do.
didn't grow up as we did with
We did,
black
yeah,
bears in their
absolutely.
Yeah,
backyard.
but if I'm in
and-
Alaska or in the Antarctica, I'm not gonna go approach a polar bear.
Well, but
Right.
I think a lot of these people have, and
They're
our
vicious.
cities are big enough now and they're old enough now. I think a lot of people have only ever known skylines.
True.
Like they've only ever known the concrete
True.
jungles that can be associated with cities, and so they've literally never experienced these outdoor
Yeah.
recreations.
Good thing us dumb old hillbillies know to stay away from bears.
I'm just so
Hey.
thankful we live in a place where we do know the countryside.
Right.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
I yearn for the countryside.
Right.
Yes.
I
Well,
go to a city and I feel trapped.
Yeah.
I tried to travel to LA for work several years ago,
Oof.
and the people in the LA office for the company I worked for, they said, "Did you take those photos of the stars?" I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "I've never seen stars." And I was like,
How sad.
"What?"
Yeah.
It's all because of the light pollution.
Yeah, the smog.
At night, well, it's smog, but it's also, I mean, you think about all the street lights
Yeah,
and
you
the
can't
everything
see
else. Like
anything.
it literally pollutes the air to where the stars can't be seen.
And that's
I
like
can do big
growing.
cities for about 2 days. After 2 days, I feel a little cramped.
Yeah. It's so again, I think a lot of it comes from people, and it's good, right? They've seen something that attracted them to this outdoor
Yeah.
space. We've just got to do a better job in some way of
Yeah.
somehow educating them so that everybody can enjoy it
Educating,
safely.
holding folks accountable. You know, our legislation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So off camera,
Okay.
you gave us a little insight into your previous life where you were actually a van lifer. That is something that we're both very jealous of.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that would be an awesome way to spend my days with my family, which means you've traveled quite a bit across the country. Obviously, you have a yearning for conservation, for the outdoors. You've seen a lot of places But why specifically did you choose to come back to this place and conserve, preserve, educate, and want to attract people here? Because you said for a stint you lived in New Mexico, correct?
Yeah.
Why not New Mexico? Why did you not
Yeah.
want to bring people to New Mexico? Why do you want to bring them here?
Yeah.
Because you've been all around.
Yeah, that's a great question, Garrett. Thank you. A few different reasons. Coming back to Appalachia, my dad's here. So that was a big
You got
reason.
family.
The roots.
That's where your roots were.
The roots. Having a child and realizing that I'm a role model for her future and what their generation is going to grow into.
Right.
So coming back to a place where I want to strengthen my roots was very important as a mother. And also this area, I just feel like we have so much room to progress.
Yeah.
So in a state like New Mexico, there were several factors why I decided to move home. Just the calling for Appalachia is always
Right.
there, right?
Okay.
It's in my
Right.
blood.
Which we discussed previously.
I grew up here. But also, New Mexico has a lot of legislation that's very progressive in
Okay.
protecting and conserving.
Yeah.
They have several acres of wilderness areas that are already protected.
Right.
So I think coming back to Northeast Tennessee, I feel like there is a lot of work to be done.
Sure.
And I feel like my passion would be, I guess, have more room to grow and flourish here with all the work that does need to be done.
Yeah.
So you've seen what New Mexico has done then, and you're wanting to maybe bring some of those positives to the area as far as like progressiveness with the legislation and stuff.
Right. I think that could be an example, as well as other states like Colorado. They have an Office of Outdoor Recreation.
Right. Cool.
There's several nonprofits out west that advocate for outdoor policy.
Right.
And just something that I rarely hear mentioned in our
I don't
legislation.
think it is mentioned. I think from a
I just don't think we're
sanction
educated
standpoint,
a lot.
you would probably, just off top hand, like as far as non-developable land,
Right.
if that's even a word, would be like, the national forest.
Yeah.
Whereas like, okay, even I'm thinking of like driven down the strip in Hilton Head.
Yeah.
There are tons of signs and they're marked from the road. This land
It's protected.
will
Signage,
never
yeah.
be developed on,
That's
you
one
know? And so
component.
it's like, okay, that's great, because how easy would it be for Hilton Head that's blown up
Oh, yeah.
to be like, you know what, we could put more hotels here.
Yeah.
Right. And it's so easy to
But then you
understand
lose
the profit,
you
the
lose-
profit concept.
Absolutely.
But to think, who built these trails? Volunteers.
Yeah.
We think about the Appalachian Trail. Who maintains those trails? Volunteers.
Right.
So we can think of infrastructure in a profitable stance, and then we can think of conservation in a sustainable stance.
Right.
True.
And I think Tennessee could use a lot more support on the sustainable side.
Gotcha.
One
Does that
thing
answer your question?
It does. It does. Again, I think at the base of it, you were able to experience maybe some positives from other areas and how they are moving forward with that type of thing. And
Yeah.
you just want to see it here home.
It's eye-opening to experience other cultures outside of our state boundary. Right?
Yeah,
We
sure.
go there and we come back with new perspectives.
Yeah. Well, and then, just on a purely like surface level, we have a good dose of all four seasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You hear people like Alaska's great, but they have like 9 months of winter and
And our
Yeah, we talked
gardening
to an
culture,
Alaskan last
our
week.
agriculture.
yeah, and so same. The opposite is the truth with Florida, right? And then
We grow corn in solid and liquid forms.
there you go.
We have one of the longest vegetable growing seasons.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, but it's one of the longest, I believe.
I think it's from basically early April through August/September.
Yeah, and honestly, a lot of
That's what,
a
6
lot
months?
of it is like, so with gardening, you're gonna
about
plant
to get
this
him fired
particular
up right
thing
here.
late.
I know. Well,
You're gonna plant this
agritourism's a whole
particular
nother
thing late because
component.
it's more of a cool weather.
Yeah.
It can't sustain itself in the summer, but yeah, you get to do it all. And we've got again
our soil.
our
Yeah.
soil.
And there's a little Appalachian barefooting. Maybe
Yeah.
that stigma holds true because I
Barefooting's
personally
good
like to
for
go
people.
barefooting.
It's good for folks. I'm a
gets
firm
you grounded.
believer.
There you go.
I'm
That's
a
a new
firm
thing,
believer.
right? Well, at least the term grounded, in my opinion, is
believe
pretty
in it.
new.
My
but it's
daughter
like,
says, "Mom, let's go barefooting."
there
I
you
like
go.
it.
I'm proud.
There's nothing like the feeling of just dirt and grass between your toes.
Yeah.
Feels good.
It does.
Especially when it's like a little bit damp right after the sun goes down.
Yeah.
After a good rain. Like,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But so yeah, we get a great even dose of all four seasons. Like, and here's the great thing. I don't like change, but at the same time, there are some things that you just kind of get tired of.
Right.
And the great thing about Tennessee weather is right when I'm getting sick of winter, guess what? Here's spring.
Yep.
You know what?
Within a day's time.
It's like, you know what? Hey, you might get a home.
Earlier this week, it was 2 degrees. Today, it's 65.
You know, and it's the same thing with like
Welcome.
summer. It's like, man, I'm sick and tired of going out and sweating. Oh, here's our gorgeous fall.
Yeah.
Or you can always bop up to the mountain. It's 15 degrees cooler.
Yeah,
That is very
You can
true.
go to Carvers Gap and freeze to death in the middle of summer.
Yep. Yep.
Bring a hoodie.
Bring a hoodie and a windbreaker.
So that's one of the biggest. When I describe the area to somebody, I was like, look, I just love that we get a great, in most cases, even dose of all 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Sometimes spring may be 2 weeks, but we had a great spring this
Truly.
last year. Oh my gosh, we had probably the longest spring weather that I can remember.
The wildflowers are beautiful.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
You know, we don't have harsh winters.
No.
Which is something I prefer. I prefer a really harsh winter, but you know, to most
like
people,
the
that's
snow.
probably a positive.
I do. I love the even dose of all 4.
Yeah.
I do eventually get tired of it, and I'm ready for something new. And daggone it, here's the next season. You know, it's just kind of how it works here. And
You
I
wait
love
about 2
that.
days, and you'll get that next season coming right around.
I
But
love
fall's the
that.
best.
It is.
Oh, fall is by
It
far
is.
the best. We got the apples.
True.
We make apple butter as a family. Then so
that's so
there's
fun.
apple pies, and I guess I really like apples. I didn't realize that.
It happens.
So how can people help get involved? Because I at the end of the day, again, I think the vast majority of residents want to see the area be sustained, flourish, all of these things. How can we help in facilitating tourism and outdoor recreation?
Yeah. I tried to think about this question before I came in,
Yeah.
just because I do think it's important for folks to get involved.
Right.
So I just compiled a little list. I'll just kind of skim through if that's okay.
Absolutely.
There's a
Let's
lot
hear
of
it.
words there. That looks like more than a little list.
I'll skim.
No, you can read them all. We don't care.
Okay. So let's see. So number one, I think for folks in our local community and visitors coming to the state, is we want to practice leave no trace ethics.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's kind of a good handbook just to go to.
Yeah.
Like, how I've never been outside as a visitor to Tennessee. How can I be responsible?
Yeah.
You know, and keep these places around.
How can I not get eaten by Mama Bear?
Yes. Do not go after the bears.
Yeah, don't do that.
So I'll just run through leave no trace ethics real quick, which you can also Google, of
Let's hear
course.
it.
Nice.
Plan ahead and prepare. Travel and camp on durable surfaces.
Okay.
Dispose of waste properly.
That's a big one.
Leave what you find. That's a really big one. You
Right.
know, pack it in, pack it out.
Yeah.
Minimize your campfire impacts. Respect the wildlife and
Yep.
be considerate of others. So
Right.
it's pretty basic.
Yeah.
But to someone who may be coming from that cityscape
Right.
and not be familiar with wildflowers, you know, don't pick them. Leave
Yeah.
them for others to embrace the beauty.
Our pollinators appreciate it.
Yeah.
Leave
Yeah, in
it.
some cities, I've seen their trash policies. Not the best.
Well, so on the
Some
on
of them
the,
say leave more
the-
trash.
The leave it thing though, like I just saw an article the other day, and again, I think it just speaks to. I'm born and raised here. I did not know this. I've seen the rock stacks right along
I was going to say,
rivers and
please,
creeks
for the
and
love
cairns,
of
stuff.
humanity,
yeah.
stop stacking rocks.
Well, I was like, oh, that's cool. Never knew what it was, but
Yeah.
then I saw the negative impacts of like
Yeah.
the
Quit that.
microorganisms and stuff like that, and I'm like, that makes
Right.
complete sense.
You're
Yeah,
not
leave-
going to make me believe that an alien stacked those, no matter how many different ways you do it.
Yeah, I mean, I
Stop
don't know what.
stacking
Again,
them.
I don't know what the motive was, but I've heard now. I've been exposed to the facts of the negative impacts of doing
Yeah.
that. It's like, no, leave that rock.
And
in
that's
the stream.
something you learn through being educated
Right.
about
Yeah.
it. Otherwise, you know, as a kid, I thought it was a blast to stack rocks.
Yeah.
And I want to encourage my child to have open play.
Right.
But then I also want to teach her that, hey, by moving these rocks around, you're
disrupting
messing with
something.
little ecosystems of
Yeah.
salamanders and
Yeah.
water striders and things of
Absolutely.
that nature. So
Maturing is realizing that you don't have to stack the rocks.
yeah, that's a hard one.
Yeah, it is because again,
truth,
it is
though.
fun.
It hurts.
That should be a t-shirt.
It hurts. It hurts, but you don't have to stack the rocks.
Right.
Yeah.
How else can we get involved?
The newts will thank you.
The news will thank you.
yeah.
Some other ways to get involved, and we're thinking, again, from a tourism and sustainability perspective.
Right.
Build awareness through conversations. So I appreciate y'all hosting this podcast because
Yeah.
that's one way to get the message out, right?
Right.
Because we want to keep bringing people to Tennessee. We just want to educate them in the process.
Yeah.
And listening to good podcast, researching an area before you go, and maybe having something like this conversation pop up.
Right.
Someone might take something away from it.
Easy with the G word.
G word.
We're just a podcast. She said good podcast.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that
Easy on
adjective
the
may
G
not
word.
apply.
Easy on the G
relative.
word.
The G word. Another way to get involved is to advocate.
Okay.
Attend city council meetings, which
Sure.
I harp on a little bit because
Yeah.
it's such a great way to use your voice instead of using your voice to complain on a social media post. Take that voice and make it productive.
Or on the sofa media post.
Well, so one thing that always like grinds my gears, I guess, is when someone will be so quick to complain, and then you like try to have a conversation and understand the why. They can never articulate like why they feel that way,
Right.
and so it's like, you know, your complaint doesn't have any bearing, and it dang sure doesn't have a fix if you can't articulate, you know, like why you feel this way.
More times than not, it leads to a dead end. I realize
it does, and it's like.
Leads to arguments. That
And
get nowhere.
the biggest thing is like, if you would just, you know, if you do have a complaint, guess what? People can do something about that, but you got to be at the city council meetings.
Yeah.
You've got to be in front and conversing with the people who can do something about it.
Right.
I'm sure they're happy to hear you out.
Yeah.
Right. And in those instances, I'll try to share statistics, you know, as tourism provides X amount of jobs for our community.
Yep.
Right.
Your child or grandchild might be an employee at
There
a
you
tourism
go.
industry.
Right.
There you
know?
go.
So that's providing sustainable future.
Right.
I respect it.
Another way to get involved, building community. And I think your podcast, again, here is a great way to do that. Building that community, sharing the message, getting out and maybe joining groups like Sorba comes to mind, a local mountain biking group, building trails, being part of the message.
Yeah.
You know, if you're advocating for something, actually getting out there and getting your hands dirty.
Yeah.
Volunteering
Yes.
is
I
a great
think
way
the Tweetzy
to.
Trail is a really cool thing.
Yeah.
You think about an old railroad.
Yep.
It was just doing nothing, right? It's I guess they just kind of followed the suit of the
Rails to
creeper
trails
trail,
are
but
such a cool way
Yeah.
to upcycle.
that is.
old
It's like,
trails.
okay, you take something that was vital for a period of time, for whatever reason, routes change, whatever, and it's
Yeah.
no longer as a train track beneficial.
It's now green space.
Yep.
There you go.
And that's
little,
a
little
local
easy
place.
riding,
Recreation
easy
and-
walking,
Oh yeah,
easy
just
running,
it's so that's a great.
whatever you want to do on
All
it.
Great
ages,
way.
you know.
I love those.
Very
Yeah.
friendly.
So another way I have to get involved kind of goes back to that medium question you asked earlier. Campaigns are very effective, and that comes from more of a, I guess, on a back end perspective. If you're
Okay.
promoting tourism or if you're a local business or in the hospitality industry,
Right.
Creating campaigns around your message.
Okay.
So recently we did a roughly a 50-day winter campaign.
Okay.
And those numbers that came back, I'll just share, over 1.3 million impressions.
Nice.
Nearly 30,000 link clicks directly to our website.
Wow.
you
So
go.
these numbers, again, the proof is kind of in the pudding. I don't know how I feel about that expression.
Yeah,
but
no,
it's
it's weird.
Depends
It
on
is a
pudding.
weird one. Yeah.
It's
But if
nanner pudding.
banana-
I'm in on it.
Oh, we on the same page on that.
In the summertime, you can throw some strawberries in there too.
Hey, I do like a good
I
strawberry.
like to
banana
mix the
pudding.
chocolate instead of the vanilla pudding, and then throw.
Oh,
Interesting.
interesting. As long as it's got Nilla wafers, I'm in.
Yeah, the wafers are good.
So that's another way is to create a campaign around your message.
Okay.
And I'll share, if it's okay, really quick, some of our top markets from that campaign.
Yeah.
So you have the data that comes in, and you can directly see how your message is being received and what audiences.
Yep.
So our top markets from our recent campaign that ran November 2023 to January 24, Dallas, Atlanta, Nashville, Charlotte, Orlando. We're also seeing an international market rise right now, which I find so interesting. We have China, Germany, India, UK. We've had Ireland pop up, and these are directly visitors coming to our website.
Ireland.
So when you say those states and cities, like that's where the impression was from, right? That's where
Yeah.
the person was the visitor to your website from Ireland and all these other places.
Right. And sometimes we're
That's crazy.
targeting certain markets. But
Sure.
with our like Google campaign, for instance, we are selecting areas, and these are kind of those areas that most people engaged or
Very cool.
were
That's
shown
awesome.
an ad.
Very
yeah.
cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And one more thing I'll throw up. We had a new market from Washington, D.C. I thought that was super cool. Little fun fact.
Wow. Okay.
So folks are in the know about the Northeast Tennessee.
yeah,
Rad.
that's awesome.
And yeah, again, just building that campaign message. So in the future, you know, now that we have this data, I might try to build a campaign around promoting conservation to
Yeah.
these visitors. Now
Right.
that they've seen it once on one touch point, here's your second viewing
Yeah.
of an ad. And now it's education about
Right.
conservation.
There you go. Yeah.
One more thing I'll touch on is barriers to access. So I just wanted to reiterate that it doesn't always have to be a state park or wilderness area
Yeah.
Right.
that we're advocating for people to protect and to visit. It can also be our local city parks.
Right.
Right.
It can be our local green spaces.
Yeah.
all of our Tri-City, Greeneville, Johnson City, we all have local green spaces. And when you're involved at a city council meeting or you're advocating, you can be part of the community that helps this infrastructure continue to be protected and to grow.
Yep.
So it doesn't always have to be miles away. It can be right here in your own community.
Sure. Yeah.
So if it's all overwhelming, just start local.
Right.
So
Okay.
Very nice. Very nice.
Tennessee has 57 designated state parks.
Yeah. We need to keep those.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like one in particular that I have personally witnessed, and thankfully I believe they're starting to get some funding to redo is Horse Creek.
Yeah.
It took it used to be
stomping grounds.
Yeah, I mean, well, and so that played a huge role in my mother and her siblings' upbringing because they were so close to it.
My mom's too. That
It
was
used
an
to
old
be,
hangout
it
spot.
used to
I
be
grew up in Horse
this,
Creek.
and it was maybe neglected is not the right word, but
No, it was neglected.
well, from a resource perspective, right? It just didn't get the attention, the maintenance, the upkeep.
Maybe a lack of funding.
Yes.
That's probably
Definitely.
truly what it ended up being,
Definitely
and so, but
because it
now-
wasn't like a main park.
It wasn't, and so now I've heard that they are getting some funding and they're going to redo the pavilions and bring and restore those, and that's
Revamping the campsites.
That's really awesome.
Yeah. And I do think tourism helps with that funding. And again, I think people are starting to be more aware that outdoor recreation is one of our main assets.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And that it's a $1 trillion industry. I mean, mountain biking and all this, it brings in a lot of revenue.
Yeah.
So there's still potential for revenue there. And it's just advocating to dedicate a portion of that to the upkeep and the maintenance and the preservation of these parks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Hopefully everybody enjoyed that because I now feel way more educated.
I feel learned.
Absolutely.
You done got learnt.
Got learned today.
Hey, so
Learned.
you've said it many a times. We keep using the word folk, right? Love that. Y'all. I've heard you drop several y'alls.
Someone told me ain't in the dictionary. You know that?
False.
I think it is
It
now.
is. It
I
is.
truly think it is. I believe
followed
it
up.
is.
It
It's
is.
totally in the dictionary.
It is in the-
absolutely
I
is.
think
it's been in the
Webster-
dictionary for like 15 years.
Yeah,
What?
where have you been? What rock have you been living
Yeah,
under?
come on now.
But y'all, so I heard, so we had an event and they're out of Ohio, the originators, right?
Yep.
They typed in an email, y'all, and they said, I can't believe I just used y'all. I said, listen, y'all is so efficient. Our version of the English language is efficient.
It is so efficient. I agree with that.
One of my faves, Narian.
I know. You type it all
Wait,
the
which
time.
one?
Narian. Naria, Narian. There's a couple of different
Use it in a sentence.
dialects. Well, right now, I ain't got nary a Mountain Dew left.
I've not heard that one, and I
Marion?
don't know how. Because I feel like my mama would have been all over that.
Narian.
Yes.
Sweetheart, you ain't got nary a 1 cent.
It means basically none.
I was
An
going to
absence,
throw like
right?
some phrases in there too, like if your nose is itching, that means someone's coming.
Yeah.
Guys, that one.
yeah.
I haven't heard that
cows
one.
are laying
your ears
down.
burning, right? I've heard that
burning.
one. My favorite, the epitome of efficiency is jeet yet.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Jeet yet.
Jeet yet.
Jeet yet?
We got 2 syllables. Jeet yet.
Jeet yet.
Did you eat yet? That's 4 freaking
jeet
words.
yet.
So efficient.
Gotcha.
Condensed to 2 syllables. I mean,
Yeah.
Show
But
me somewhere else.
Y'all's the best, right?
Y'all's the
Oh, yeah.
best.
I
Yeah.
recently, I made some friends in Scotland visiting this summer, and I was typing them a message, and I wrote out "you all" because I had put "y'all," and I thought they won't know what that means.
No.
So
They
I
won't.
typed it out, and then I'm like, it don't sound right.
no.
They won't
all.
know what it means, but it's a great educational
There
opportunity.
you go. We're trying to educate
yeah,
people,
yeah.
culture them, so to speak.
That's right.
We can sense when rains are coming based on our gout. Like it's us Appalachian folk have quite a few
Are
talents.
the cows laying down?
That's
you
what I'm
know?
saying. Are the cows laying down? That's the weather prediction.
That's
right
what I'm
there.
saying. We're smarter than just your average bumpkin.
We're in tune with the land.
We
That's
are.
what it's about.
That's
We
it.
know our surroundings and we know not to approach bears. Jared,
Yeah.
on that note,
Yeah.
there are some things that our audience can do. First off, to help spread Allie's message.
Yeah.
What are those things?
Tune into that podcast. Meet me in Tennessee. I think you guys are right now like a monthly release. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Very
we'll
cool.
have an episode coming out here in just a couple weeks.
Yes. Tune in, listen to that. Again,
Link in description below.
Link in description. If any of these things, when Allie was reciting some of the ways you can get involved, hit you between the eyes,
Yeah.
take action.
Go to a city council meeting, Richard.
Yeah, get involved. And just
Go state
again,
your case.
I think one thing that we can all do is just be a little more welcoming. And then two, maybe it is approaching with a little bit of grace, right? okay, the person who may be from the cityscape maybe not understands why you don't leave your Big Mac wrapper in the forest. I mean, just educating, but being a little graceful with it. I think all those things might help. But yeah, in regards to our podcast, leave us a review.
Yeah.
Rate
Good
us.
or bad.
Good or bad. We read them all. And hopefully you guys have enjoyed this episode.
Stars and bars, folks. We enjoy stars and bars.
Yes.
That's likes, comments, ratings.
I have still not gotten used to not wearing headphones in this whole hour. Thanks, Garrett.
And there it is again. I dropped the ball. Folks, here's the hard part, Jared.
We'll just see y'all later. Catch y'all on the other
It's not
side.
hard for Jared anymore. Y'all have a good one.
See you
Alex,
later.
thank you.
Thanks, y'all.
See you.